This is Lisa Tucker, host of The Book Cover, which showcases local literary personalities. So listen to The Book Cover on the borderline. And remember, don't judge a book by its cover. Hi, you're listening to The Book Cover. This is Lisa Tucker, and you are on the borderline. Today I have local author John De Lorenzi. Hi, John.
Hi, Lisa.
Thank you for coming on today. So this is your first book, Take the Front Seat, correct?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And now tell me a little bit about your background, because your background isn't in writing.
No. I took, business.
And HR.
In university. And then I did actually a master's of industrial relations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like labor policy and industrial relations and that. So
it has nothing to do with writing?
No.
Not really.
Except that I've always liked writing.
Really? So
Yeah.
have you always been a big reader?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's usually, if you're a writer, you're a reader, and
Okay.
vice versa. If you're a reader,
It was
you're a
so
writer.
strongly encouraged. I just sometimes wonder if I would have taken that on by myself, but my mother and my father
Yeah.
both strongly encouraged reading and other arts. And so, no, my
Sure.
mom is always handing me books. So
That's awesome.
no, but I do love reading, and I've never really stopped reading. So
Right.
yeah.
So this book, how long did it take you to write?
That comes in pieces because
Yeah,
I think
I know.
I told you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just say
Yeah, I
the
wanna-
writing, generally,
Yeah.
high level, the writing process is probably just over a year,
Okay.
and then
quick.
just over another year
So,
till it's done.
right.
Yeah. Sorry,
So-
first draft over a year. Yeah.
Yes, because the editing is a whole other story.
Right, yeah.
And it's a whole other bag of problems. But so when you and I talked off mic last week,
Right.
you told me such a cool story about how this sort of what you did to save the beginnings of this book.
Yeah.
So tell everybody about what happened there.
Okay, so I've always liked writing, like just poems. When it came time for birthdays or retirements, I was always the guy who had to write the speech or the poem. I did short stories, wrote some lyrics and stuff like that for songs. But I always wanted to write a novel, and so that was the goal. And I started one in about the year 2000, so a number of years ago. And I wrote about 50 pages, and then, start having a family, your profession gets busy, and
Life gets in the way.
life gets busy.
Yep.
I'm a Gemini, so I have an infinite amount of distractions
Yep.
and interests. So
Yep.
it just never got back to the novel because, as you probably heard from a lot of writers, if you want to write a full-on novel and do a good job, it's hard to do if you've got a full-time busy job, right? So I did the initial 50 pages, and then several years later would have been, so let's just say about 22 years later, I had a bit more time, and I found that old laptop that I knew the first 50 or so pages, I knew it was in there. And I knew I had created the main characters and some secondary characters, started the story going and, the plot line going. But the problem was that computer was just dead.
Mm-hmm. Obsolete, probably. Like,
It was a compact computer. I don't even know if
like
people
compact
even...
with a Q.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
I remember that.
I figured you might, but no,
Thanks.
I'm sure some listeners out there maybe
Yeah,
not. But
yeah. Anybody over the age of maybe 45 would
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
the compact. Yeah.
So I went to a local company to see if they could extract it. And they tried for about a week, and they couldn't do it. So they said to me, there's this company in Mississauga that specializes in this. It'll cost some money, but there's a good chance they'll be able to extract that document, right? So I said, well, yeah, send it away. And then I guess we'll get an estimate at what it's going to cost. You make
And
a
the
decision.
importance of this is because you liked the first 50 pages.
Yeah, like...
And you didn't want to have to redo it because it
No.
wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah, I didn't remember like all the details.
Right.
I remembered like the characters and some of what was happening, but to try and recreate it, I didn't want to.
Right.
In fact, if I didn't get this extracted, I'm not even sure I would have written this book, to tell you the truth. I would
Wow.
have probably picked up on some other idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hard for a writer. It takes a lot out of you. It makes you vulnerable to write anything, and to have to
Right.
rewrite it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been terrible. Okay, so it was sent
Yeah.
away, get an estimate,
Yeah.
and then what happened?
And then I got my estimate.
Do we want? Was
And I
it?
said, Oh, so he told me, get ready. It might be north of $500 to get this out.
Okay. See, and I was thinking like 12 to 1500. So.
Oh, okay.
That was okay.
Okay, so it isn't that bad. Eh? So north of 500 to me meant it could be up 700-800.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was like, okay, at what point am I not going to pay for this? Yeah. But I don't remember exactly what it came in at, but it was less than 500. I think it was around 375 to 425 or something. So
beautiful. Yeah,
went for it, got it, and just as soon as I got it, I went on a writing rampage for like a year and a half or whatever it was. And
any spare time you?
Yeah, I just didn't stop, didn't slow down. Mm-hmm. Didn't get writer's block until the second novel.
Oh, we're gonna have to talk about that.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
but we're not. Okay, let's.
Forget about that.
Yeah, I want to talk about the current novel.
Yes.
And you just launched it 2 weeks ago.
Well, we had the official in-person launch last Thursday.
Nice.
And it was on Amazon, I think, a few days before. So now we're just starting to get it into stores, and we have our printed copies and stuff. So
yeah, because it's available as an ebook as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tell us the give us a summary
of the book.
Yes.
Okay.
The plot.
Street level or high level?
Can we do mid-level? Because I would get the high level because I have an English degree.
Right. Yeah.
But low level doesn't satisfy
Yeah.
me
No.
either.
I didn't mean getting into a lot of details, but I think I was telling you the other week.
You were telling me basics.
Yeah, and
tell me a little bit more than basics.
Yeah, and I will for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and the other week, you asked me in my store, right? You said, so what's the book about? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's how do you do this in a minute or less? And so it's one of the harder questions to answer.
Well, you have 30 minutes. So you can listen. You don't actually, we have more than 30 minutes because this is my podcast and I can do whatever the hell I want. Yeah, so if it's 45 minutes, do it 45 minutes.
Okay.
But no, I want to hear I want to hear you do justice to the plot of the book.
Here's the idea I had. There was this rideshare program that existed in real life in the 90s, and it ran between Toronto and Ottawa, and then from Ottawa, I understand, up to Montreal and even Quebec City. So at the time, there's a lot of people going back and forth, right, even today, between Toronto and Ottawa. Excuse me, at the time, mid to late 90s, the bus was about $50. If you wanted to take this rideshare program, it was $20. So it's kind of like a precursor to what Uber is today, except it ran between cities.
Right.
And you called the office, which was Allo Stop, and you said, okay, I'm leaving Toronto about 4 o'clock on Friday. I'd like to catch it in the, just west of downtown if someone's driving. And so they'd match you up with the driver.
Cool.
Yeah, so I took this rideshare probably 4 or 5 times. My brother took it. I had friends who took it. And so what you realize is unique about this is you're thrown in this car with 4 or 5 other people
that you've never met before.
That you've never met on a Friday, and you're pumped up or whatever.
Yeah. All walks of life.
All walks of life for sure.
Yeah.
And you're sandwiched in this car, and at some point along the way you realize, I'm never going to see these people again. I'm going to offload, or I'm going to say something I won't even say to my family, or I just want to say something that won't, whatever it is, right? Won't get back to anyone.
Because even if they do judge you, who cares? You'll never see them.
You'll never see them again. So this is the premise of the book, but they do see each other again. So the whole book does not take place in the car. No. Okay. I think it'd get boring at some point. You need your main characters that
are out. Well, I mean, there's been movies done in less. Like there was that one movie that was done entirely in a telephone booth with Colin Farrell. Oh, yeah. He was in a telephone booth. That was the only scene. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was awesome. But anyway, it could be done.
Yes. So no, a lot of the book does not take place in the car, but this is how the main characters meet, right? And they coincidentally run into each other again. And again, so they unwittingly are becoming friends. They're just because they're starting to get to know each other, and then they take it sort of outside of the car. Okay. And in fact, they high level now. Okay. Yes. So in fact, they become quite pivotal in each other's lives, in terms of, the main characters, like we all do, we have our challenges that we want to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
We have major decisions that we need to make in life that we procrastinate on. And so these characters become key in forcing each other to make these decisions and go do the things they need to do to either find happiness in their lives or find resolve in their lives or get a question answered that's always been hanging there, right, for 30 years. So
I love that.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no, I love that because it's the people you meet along the way, like sometimes so randomly, right? Just this is why I like that. So this ring that I have on, okay, it was my grandmother's ring. So it's very, very old. She died, she was 102. And I've been wearing it since she passed.
Oh, nice.
But when she was in her 40s, she took a cruise. And the people that were randomly sat at her dinner table, this woman was there from like the States. And my grandmother commented and said, "Oh, what a lovely ring." And this random woman gave the ring to my grandmother.
Nice.
So now this random meeting on a cruise. And now I've got a piece of heirloom jewelry that I will pass down to my child. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, that's what kind of, it's like a happenstance, random meeting that can change things in your life.
You don't by chance know who this woman is, or?
I don't. You know what? My grandmother wasn't sure of her name at the end because I had asked her, but she was from the States.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I'm thinking,
like,
because I'm a wannabe writer, I'm thinking of writing a book along those lines
okay.
about the ring.
Oh, right on. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Not about the ring, but the ring's travel. But anyway, back to your book. Not my.
So it's fiction, right? So even though this rideshare was real and existed, it's a fiction book. So.
Yeah. So you would categorize this as general fiction?
Maybe action.
Oh.
Adventure. Yeah, there's action. There's humor in there.
Sure.
Tragedy.
Okay.
I don't know. Some mystery, I suppose. I'm not great at like categorizing.
Categorizing?
No. Leave that up to others.
Does anybody die? Oh, you don't want to say? Okay. Is there a murder?
No, it's not a mystery.
Okay, so there's no murder.
No.
Somebody may or may not die. Look at your face.
Do people? I don't know. Do people answer these questions? I'll tell you this.
You don't have to tell me who dies.
Can I tell you this much? Like, the original thought I had in my head for the ending was much gloomier than what I ended up using.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And was that at the advisement of somebody? Like, did somebody read your book and say, you know what, you got to end it happier?
No, because in my first draft, I didn't take the gloomy route.
Okay.
One of the main characters has bouts of depression, and my original idea was I was gonna carry that throughout the book and make it kind of deep at points, but I didn't end up doing that. So the original idea for the ending I had in mind just didn't make sense anymore.
It didn't track. Yeah.
No.
Now you've got the characters in your book are from all walks of life and different countries.
Right.
So there's one in your book. His name is, where is he? Boris, and he is Russian.
Yes.
Do you know a Russian? Like, how did
No.
you? So how did you have to do some research for?
Yeah,
his...
I do a lot of research.
Yeah, I bet.
When I write, just because I like to research.
Yeah, yeah.
The book gets set in a handful of different settings, and I haven't been there. And so cool? Yeah, I mean, at any rate, thinking back where I came up with this guy, when I graduated university, I volunteered in Toronto with recent immigrants to help them put together resumes and find work and stuff like that. And I actually got buddied up with this guy from the USSR. I don't think he was Russian. I actually think he was Ukrainian. And so he was quite an interesting guy. And we actually kind of became friends, and he invited me over to his place and stuff like that. But anyway, I think I got the initial idea to make one of these characters Russian from my experience of meeting this guy.
Sure. Yeah. And books are everywhere you look. Like, there's a book character everywhere you look.
Yeah.
If you're a writer.
Okay. True. Yes.
Okay,
see what you mean, yeah.
I had this conversation with what Jennifer Barone. She wrote Goose on a Roof.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I asked her how she came up with the idea. She said, "Well, I was looking around at my dad's house, and there was a goose on the roof." I'm like, you know what? There's a book everywhere.
Yeah,
I love it. So, you have kids that are about my age. Have they read the book?
No, because it's like literally just out. I'm gonna sign it and mail it to them.
I'm interested to see what your grown kids think of it, because they're the most brutal and harshest critic. Your kid, like not your kids, but kids in general to their parents.
Well, it has to be weird reading a book written by your father. Like if my dad wrote a book.
Right.
Yeah, sure. I guess I would read it, but it has to be weird. I don't know. I mean, like, we'll find out.
Well, I think it is. I'm always 10,000 pages into a novel. I'm always, and I let my daughter, who's 20, read those 10,000 pages.
Yeah.
She's like, "Mom, I didn't even know it was you writing.
Oh.
It was like somebody else was writing." And which
in a
I
good
think,
way?
yeah, and I think it was in a good way. Well, it has to be in a good way, because as a 20-year-old, she thinks I'm a big, huge loser nerd, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
But she was excited about it.
Cool. So there you go. That's pretty good praise or encouragement.
Well, listen, I'll tell you.
Get to it, Lisa.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the kid that tells me I look like an old hag if I, leaving the house with, I don't know, disheveled, like what I'm wearing right now with ripped shirts and everything, but it does say slacker on my t-shirt.
Yes.
So now I want to know, you published with our local publishing house,
right, yeah.
Togona Press, with Brian Davies.
Yeah.
How was Brian to work with?
Oh, Brian, what a big, Brian. He's got this huge personality.
Huge.
And he's great for the ego. I mean, I don't know. He's got to market the book. I get it. But
right?
He's just so many,
He's the biggest cheerleader.
Oh, he's a great cheerleader.
Yeah.
And I'm not great at self-promotion. So
yeah,
I always wanted to try and get published.
Yeah.
That was my main goal. Because otherwise you're putting it out there on your own and you're selling it on your own. And, I don't have all those elements to do all that, like, naturally.
Yeah.
I would have done it, but, like, my goal is to get published, and I'm just like super excited to work with Togona Press, and with Brian in particular. He's just like very well connected, and he's out there, and he's just very good at speaking to the book.
He is, and he's a transplant. Like, he wasn't born and raised in Sault Ste. Marie,
right? But
he's transplanted here, and he is such a huge proponent for Sault Ste. Marie writers.
Yeah.
I can see in 10 years time like this whole thing growing and us being like a mecca, for writing, because he's just doing such a great job. And how great to be able to go to and get published by a publishing house.
Yeah. In
your hometown.
Yeah. It's
right?
good that way. It's just, I don't know.
And a lot of people don't know that he's there.
Yeah.
When you say, local publishing house. What? Really?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But then again, if you ask the average person to name a publishing house, it's,
Yeah, that's true.
I'll say the name of, like, Brian is, from what I understand, affiliated with Dundurn.
Yep.
And I just think people know that, and most people don't.
I know.
So
right?
that's what I'm saying. Like,
right.
It's only nerds like us.
Right.
That know
Yeah.
this stuff, yeah.
Like, I'll say something like to somebody, "Oh, this is Brian. He is Togona Press. They're also affiliated with Dundurn Press in Toronto and internationally." Yeah. And people like look at me like I have three heads. What's Dundurn Press and what does that mean? And what? But anyway, nerds like us.
I mean, they know Capitol Records and EMI and
right.
all the music stuff, but just not the book stuff.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, it's a great way for Siouites, Algoma people, the Algomaites, to get out there, not just Sault Ste. Marie, but out there.
Yeah, and he's busy like organizing events for writers in town, but he also wants to go down to Southern Ontario because he's quite busy there.
Yes.
He's already lined up for my book to be in bookstores in Oshawa and Pickering and places like that in Sioux, Michigan. So he's always on the move. And
he's awesome.
Yeah.
He is awesome. So we talked, you sort of mentioned a little bit about a second book. Mm-hmm. Now, first question, when you write the second book, are you going to go with Togona?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So that's if that's
is
not
Togona going with me?
Oh, I see. Oh, no. You can't think of it like that. You can't think of it like that.
I don't know, man. Well, when you're, early in your career in writing.
Humble.
Yeah. So eventually, right? But no, he said he's very excited to see it, and he said it comes to me first or whatever. So I'll take that as sort of commitment as long as.
And a huge compliment.
Yeah.
Because he's out there to make, not only is he out there to promote local authors, but he's also out there to make money.
Yeah.
So that's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah, for you.
So second book.
Yes.
I don't know if you had a specific question, but I can just.
No, that was my next question. So, you read my mind.
Oh, to go to right. Sorry, yeah.
No, your second book. Tell me.
Yeah. Okay. So
have you started?
I'm done my first draft.
Oh my goodness.
And my first draft of my second book is way better than my first draft of my first book. Because even just going back to, we talked about my education, my background's not in writing.
Yeah.
I, every year at McMaster, applied to creative writing and I couldn't get in. It was not a lot of spots and it was held for the students in taking English and literature. I just didn't get in. I've never actually had a creative writing course. So I've read books on how to write books.
Yes.
But I didn't read enough when I wrote my first novel.
So you learned.
I learned a lot. And so after I did my first draft of my first novel, my editor started sending me articles on, here's how you write a book. Here's are the main principles you need to follow. So
it's really like a formula.
There is.
It's like like when you look at it, it's like a math formula, and you just plug in the numbers.
Yeah.
Where it's a book formula, and you just plug in the characters, the crisis, the resolution, and then the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you don't you think you want to be coy or something at times and not let the reader know exactly who's in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge no-no. The reader needs to know.
Yes.
Who's in this scene? Where are we? What's the timeline here?
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily do all that in the first 3 or 4 paragraphs of every chapter. And so that was the kind of, okay, let's go back and reestablish the scene here at the beginning of the chapter, because leave them hanging for a sentence or two, but you can't leave them hanging too long before you.
No.
They need to always see what's going on. And that was the other big thing, right? So I didn't always nail that, right? I'd say, they're whatever. They're in this bar here and there. And the editors, no. Take the reader into the bar. What does the outside look like? As you walk into this bar, what's on the walls? Yeah. So, like I said, the reader needs to see it. So those kind of basic principles of writing that took that whole second year to go back in.
Wow.
But now that I know all that, the first draft of my second book is...
There's a learning curve.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like when you're writing. And I've heard back from my editor, and she's... Just based on the early feedback she's given me, I can tell there's a lot less work to do on the first draft of the second novel.
So instead of 1,000 edits, there'll only be 250.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, writers tend to I believe, now you tell me because you've interviewed a lot of them, but
I have.
You overwrite your first draft. Or have they said that? I don't know.
There are some that overwrite.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this doesn't need to be here. This doesn't need to be here.
Right.
But then there are some, you got to add something about this because he comes out of nowhere, and you got to give him some sort of a background or origin story or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it depends on.
Well,
now I thought you were going to say writers tend to be overthinkers. That I'll agree with.
No, wasn't going to say that.
That I will agree with.
No, I'll just editors. Okay, this scene, are the main characters in it? No. Okay, well, who's in it? Is it going to be somewhat about the main characters? Is it coming back to them?
Yeah.
Is it totally locked into the plot or coming back into the plot? If the answer is no to those, consider dropping the chapter as their answer, right? It's just keep the main plot and the main characters moving. They don't always have to be there, but the secondary and tertiary characters, something needs to connect back to the main thing going on here, right? So I overwrote that first novel, and I ended up dropping, and they tell you'll end up dropping maybe 20% of your first draft, and I dropped 4 or 5 complete chapters.
Wow.
I maybe kept a few things and found a place for them, and that's tough because that's a couple months.
Yeah, of work.
Of work, and you're
heartbreaking.
Like, cut it, gone.
Yeah.
Yes, chop it, gone. Okay.
Yep, heartbreaking.
Delete.
Yeah, you might as well cut off my arm, right?
I know. However, you could do stuff with those deleted chapters, and I have. I've kept them, and I've turned one into a short story, right?
Okay.
Not related to the novel, but just a short story. So you can always do stuff with your effort. But,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the second book.
So yeah, back
Plot.
to the second book. So this plot, similar again in that the initial idea for the book is a real life thing, and then the book itself is fiction.
Sure.
So in real life, I had a charge on my credit card for $4,200 US back in 2017.
That you didn't.
That I didn't do.
Okay.
And it was even Valentine's Day. No, I didn't do it. Yeah, it was Feb 14, 2017.
Wow.
So I called the bank, obviously, right away and said, can you make sure this gets wiped out? And I could see, because it was like a flight. Okay, I could tell it was like Air Canada, and it was a flight. And so the bank actually told me, you have to call Air Canada and let them know. I go, what? I have to call Air Canada? I just want this wiped off my credit card. You have to call Air Canada. Fine, I'll call Air Canada. So I call Air. Anyway, there's calls back and forth between me and Air Canada and me and the bank, and eventually it's wiped out. But in the meanwhile, I'm given some information. I'm given the name of the guy who booked the flight.
In real life, you were given that?
In real life. I'm given his birth date, believe it or not. And I'm given the flight path. This guy didn't actually take the flight. He booked the flight one day, rebooked it later on, slightly different flight path, but never ended up taking it.
Weird.
And I thought, oh my God, this is a cool idea.
There's a book.
What if this guy who is almost frauded 4,200 decides, you know what? No, I'm going to go find this guy. I have enough information. I have his name, his date of birth, approximately where he lives.
Wow.
I have some free time coming up and a bit of cash.
See, that would be an adventure.
This is more of an adventure, mystery one. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great premise. See, again, there's a book everywhere you look.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. I can't wait for that one, for sure.
The tough, I tell you, like, beginnings and endings are the toughest.
I know.
So that's why I understand. And in my case, beginnings get written and rewritten and rewritten. Mm-hmm. And endings get rewritten. And so it was the same as with me.
Wow.
And so the tough one on this second book is, does he find him, right? And if so, what does he do?
Yeah. Don't tell us.
No.
That's a good book. That's a good premise. I love that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
No, I love it. I love it. Okay, so now I know I just watched you drop some off to Marnie downstairs.
Right, yeah.
Take the driver's seat. So it will be available. Your book will be available at the Artesian.
Front seat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Take the front seat. I said take the driver's seat. No, it's not.
No, that's getting home on the weekends.
That's right. Driver's seat is getting home when you've had a couple too many.
Yeah.
Okay, Take the Front Seat is the book.
Yep.
John De Lorenzi is the author. So it'll be available at the Artesian at 514 Queen Street East.
Yeah.
Where else in Sault Ste. Marie can you get a print copy?
Print copy. Well, you can get it from my store, which is Alora Espresso Imports. It's in the Pall Mall on Queen Street.
Yes, if you need a good coffee maker, go there. I looked at refurbished ones too.
Yep, new refurbs. Lots of good coffee beans and espresso beans.
I love it.
Yeah.
Is that where my brother bought his?
Yes, he did. He bought one from me.
Yeah.
He loves it, yeah.
Oh, yes, he does.
I think we're watching the Greyhound game together tonight.
Oh, okay. You'll have to tell him hi.
We're going to talk coffee.
Yeah, right. Okay, so...
Sorry, yeah.
So where else in the Sioux?
So this is being done in phases. So these locations and then into bookstores, hopefully Kohl's locally.
Yeah.
And then in Sumesh and then, other places that sell books locally. And then parallel at the same time, Brian's putting them into some stores in Southern Ontario. Mm-hmm. And then... it's on at Amazon. You can buy it from Amazon and togonapress.com. And then from there, we'll see if we can get the Dundurn distribution. And then that's a whole new ballgame, right? So now we get into stores across the country, but that's the next phase.
I think it's national and international. So it might be stores across the continent.
Well, that would be wild.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah.
Have you been to one of the stores yet to see your book on the shelf? I know it's early. You just launched.
No,
but that'll be freaky.
Yeah. I think that will be. Yeah. Well, going up on Amazon and seeing it, that's kind of freaky.
I bet.
Yeah. And even on To Go to Press for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm only 1 or 2 pages in to take the front seat, but you already it already has grabbed me just because of the way. You know what? You can always tell. Like, I already love the idea, but then sometimes the idea of a book is great and the writing's not awesome. But right from the very first page, I can already tell I'm going to like your writing.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Because I can already see it. Like, the movie already started in my head.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When you're reading a book, it starts the visualization.
Yeah.
And it's already started, so I'm going to have to finish it.
Thank you.
For sure. This is going to be one of my holiday books. I'm going away in May, and this is definitely going to be one of my holiday books. And if they're lucky, maybe I'll leave it at the resort and have other people read it.
Well, that'd be cool.
I know, right? Wouldn't that be great? You'll
take a few copies.
And then you'll be for sure international. Yeah, right?
I'm huge in. Where are you going?
Curacao.
Curacao.
They don't speak English there, but what? No.
Even better.
Oh well, speaking, is this like any translations? In the works?
Oh no,
like
we're
French?
So early.
Okay, yeah, we are.
I put some French in here, and I intentionally put my crude French in there in places.
Okay.
And then some proper French. Just a few lines here and there.
Okay. Who helped you with the French?
A bit of me, a bit of my sister, and a bit of Google Translate.
Okay.
There are a few lines in Russian, and I use Google Translate, and so I don't know. Hopefully, it did a good job. We'll see.
Sometimes they don't.
No, I know
the phrases, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm sure. Give it some time. As soon as somebody reaches out and says your Russian is wrong, you've made it. You've made it. Yeah. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to reading Take the Front Seat, and I really am looking forward to your next book.
Oh, thanks.
I'm excited to read that. Excited to see that on the shelves and read that. But thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Time flew, eh?
Yeah, oh yeah. It's like we just sat down, right?
Right, yeah.
So the book is Take the Front Seat by John De Lorenzi. John is our author in here today. Thanks so much, John.
Thank you, Lisa.
You've been listening to The Book Cover. I'm Lisa Tucker. You're listening to The Borderline. And remember, don't judge a book by its cover.
Hi, this is John De Lorenzi, and you're on The Borderline. Listen to my podcast with Lisa Tucker on The Book Cover. My book, Take the Front Seat, is out now. It's available at To Go to Press, my store, Allura Espresso Imports, Amazon, and soon, wider distribution into bookstores in Sioux, Ontario, Sioux, Michigan, and beyond.
'Cause I'm the rider, the street rider, right on back from the hall. Oh, plant fiction, your pure fiction.